Hi, Taylor T. Carlson, and I'm back with another video for you. And today we're looking at more vinyl and more heavy metal, specifically some Iron Maiden stuff I picked up. I went over to see my buddy Clint over at Moondog Records out here in Vegas, and he had some pretty cool Maiden stuff, so I made a few pickups. I'm going to show these off briefly, then we'll do a more thorough unboxing and overview of these in a minute. Okay, first of all, I got this. This is the reprint of the Women in Uniform Invasion single. And I got this. This is a reproduction of the Soundhouse Tapes, which was the band's original initial release of 3 tracks. Now, again, this is not an original release. It's just a reproduction, but I wanted to have this on vinyl, and you had this for, a decent price, all things considered. So anyway, you're probably asking yourself, Taylor, if you're going to be reviewing Iron Maiden, why are you wearing your Kiss jacket? And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, people forget that there was a time when Iron Maiden was not yet a headlining band. These days, it's kind of hard to believe, but there was a time when they were a young up-and-coming band, and they were actually an opening act on Kiss's Unmasked tour dates in Europe. Also, I don't have a separate Iron Maiden jacket yet. If I do make another jacket, there's a pretty good bet that might be what I make. So we'll go ahead and start out with this. They did reissues back in 2014 of a few of Iron Maiden's 45s. So first one here is Women in Uniform, and then the B-side is Invasion. Now, I love this cover art. This just looks absolutely beautiful. You got Eddie strolling down the street, and he's got 2 women at his side, and lurking in the shadows is Margaret Thatcher with a gun ready to kill him. This is an inside joke because there was an early single Iron Maiden put out that had Eddie having murdered Margaret Thatcher, much to the dismay of a lot of people. And so they did this with her getting revenge on Eddie as sort of a joke. And of course, this is artwork by the always spectacular Derek Riggs. If you look really closely right there in the middle there, you can see the Derek Riggs symbol. He always hides in his artwork. On the back here, you got title of the song, band logo, picture of the first album that they had out at the time. Neither one of these songs was actually ever on an album, which makes this one of the more collectible 45s that they've reissued. There's also available, there's a single of Sanctuary with Drifter and I've Got the Fire, and then there's a single of Running Free from their first album with a B-side called Burning Ambition. That was also never on an album. And down there, they even reprinted the 1980 tour dates. So I like that they went for a sense of authenticity when they put these out. And so, again, this is a 45, although they did them with the regular-sized hole, so you don't need to put like the 45 adapter on your player. I don't know if the original 45s that Iron Maiden put out looked this way, or if the original ones had the big hole and required the adapter. Unfortunately, I was not alive back then, so can't really comment there. But again, beautiful artwork even on the label there. And then these sessions were produced by someone named Tony Platt. So this is before they hooked up with Martin Birch, who did the Killers album, as well as all their albums up to like the early 90s. And then other side here, basically the same artwork, just with the name of the track on the other side. And you know me, I absolutely love Iron Maiden, so I love hunting down the deep tracks and obscure non-album tracks. There's a little sticker on there too, right there. Limited edition 7-inch series, original 7-inch art and audio masters, first time officially available in the US. So, as a Maiden fan, I absolutely loved picking this up, and revisiting these tracks is a lot of fun. Women in Uniform, even though it was never on an album, was actually the band's first ever proper conceptual music video. And the actor playing Eddie in that video, who had the mask on, sat up, jumping out of a bed in one scene. And you don't see it in the video, but he sat up so fast, he hit the camera, broke his nose, and there was blood everywhere under the mask. I actually learned that in one of the documentaries they put out on the band a few years ago. And the song Invasion was actually a re-recording of a song from the Soundhouse Tapes. That never made its way onto an actual album, but it's a pretty nice undiscovered track that I think is worth looking into. The early Paul Di'Anno era of Iron Maiden I don't think gets enough love. A lot of people call this their favorite era of the band. Don't know if I'd quite go that far, but his days with the band are absolutely not to be overlooked. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this single was actually recorded while Dennis Stratton was still in the band. their second guitarist that only played on their first album, because Adrian Smith joined for the Killers album, their sophomore effort. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, though. Next we have the Soundhouse Tapes. Again, Clint actually told me this is a reproduction. It's not an original. I don't know if that means this is a bootleg or if it's a repressing that was sanctioned by the band. I mean, I remember a few years ago, I guess this would have been around 2002 or so, they reissued the Iron Maiden catalog on CD, and you could send in proofs of purchases and money for shipping, and you could get a CD of it. But I think that was just for a CD. I don't think it was available on vinyl as part of that promo. But anyway, I love how low budget this looks. I mean, you got the band logo in just plain black, Soundhouse Tapes written down there. Very young Paul Di'Anno fronting the band. And then on the back, the top there, you got pictures of the band members. And this has Doug Sampson on drums, who wasn't in the band long enough to appear on a proper album. The band's only a 4-piece on this, and Dave Murray is the only guitarist. Everything released by Maiden after this would always have 2 guitarists, or from like Brave New World on 3 guitarists. Then you got a nice little essay here that talks about the band early on. Got some cool photos down at the bottom. Got the track list right here. Side 1 has the song Iron Maiden, later re-recorded for their first album. Side 2 has Invasion and Prowler. Prowler re-recorded for their first album. Invasion was re-recorded as a B-side for the Women in Uniform single that I just showed off. But again, I love how low budget this looks. It just adds to the charm of the release. And the vinyl on this 45 is actually transparent yellow. I don't know if the original ones ever looked like that or if that's just something they did for this reissue. Again, I don't know if this is a sanctioned reissue by the band or if it's just like a bootleg counterfeit pressing. But either way, if it is a fake, I mean, they did a great job reproducing the way it looked. And you look at that, even the label itself has that old school low budget look to it. Now, Iron Maiden and Invasion and Prowler, the songs on this release, they're definitely less polished and more raw than the versions that were put on the first album, or in the case of Invasion, the B-side of the Women in Uniform single. And I prefer the re-recorded versions because they're certainly, more polished and they have more punch to them, but great to listen to this and get an idea of what the band sounded like when they were young and hungry and working on a shoestring budget. If you had a chance to listen to any of these tracks, and how do you think they stack up compared to the final released versions that came later? If you've got an opinion on these releases, comment down below and let me know what you think. Always love to hear from fellow Maiden fans. Also, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so, because new videos are going up all the time. And give this video a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson, and I will see you next time. In the meantime, bang your head.